so glad to be here on another episode of Soul Speak. Yes, so glad to be here. Today I wanted to take the time out to reintroduce myself. Why? Because the structure, format, and dynamic of this podcast has now changed. So I would like for those who are listening and watching to have a better sense of who it is that I am, why I speak on the subjects that I do, and just be more transparent about my purpose for speaking on Soul Speak. So yes, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Rachel. Rest in peace, Shock G. I identify as a Haitian American woman. I was born in Haiti. I was raised in New York from the age of 2. I also identify as a person who experienced extreme childhood abuse. I experienced neglect, emotional neglect, sexual abuse, corporal abuse, and psychological abuse and verbal abuse, actually, from the age of birth to 18. So let me break that down. I had a mother who was emotionally neglectful, and it is my belief that because she also went through abuse, it was difficult for her to know how to deal with me in any other way that she knew how. I also am in belief that because she had negative experiences with my father, and I would say that is something that I'm not too aware of, but I believe she was abused domestically by him and had resentment towards him. So that resentment she had towards him was reflected on me as well. So there was that, and there was the corporal abuse. Having grown up in a Caribbean household, I will not put everyone in the same boat, but I know a lot of Caribbean households and African households hold corporal abuse as an acceptable form of discipline for children. So I experienced that from the age of 6 to 8. I experienced sexual abuse by my stepfather. I was then taken into foster care from the age of 8 to 11, and I was then sent to my grandparents' house, which very much felt like a punishment, and I felt ostracized. I grew up with my grandparents from the age of 11 to 17. Their dynamic was toxic. A lot of domestic and verbal abuse occurred in that household. So yeah, from birth to 18, I was placed in an environment that was abusive and was abused as well. So I also identify as a woman who suffers from CPTSD, otherwise known as complex post-traumatic sex. Let me say that again. CPTSD is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. CPTSD occurs in people who have been subjected to ongoing traumatizing experiences. So the side effects or symptoms of CPTSD are reliving traumatic events, lack of emotional regulation, which is what we would call in layman's terms mood swings, from anger to extreme sadness to loneliness. Dissociation is also a big symptom where one detaches from their emotions or body. Negative self-perception, where how we view ourselves or I view myself is different than how people see me. Hyperarousal, a constant sense of alertness or jitteriness, and loss of faith. These are not the only symptoms, but these are the major symptoms of CPTSD. And I really am glad that we're in an age where now it is more acceptable that we talk about mental health and the effects that trauma had on us. We're doing that more so as a whole in America, and we're doing it on an individual basis, because what I dealt with a lot growing up was gaslighting. I grew up with the thought or the narrative of get over it. You lived it. It's done. It's gone. I've actually heard this from my own mother, where I've been accused of not being able to let certain events go in my life. So I am glad to be the type of person who persists in research and healing and finding the answer and being my highest self, because that has encouraged me, anchored me, girded me in persisting in finding answers. So CPTSD, any type of abuse, emotional healing, spiritual healing, these subject matters are important to me. Important is an understatement. These are the subjects that move me, that I live for, and that I seek constant knowledge in. And it really comes from, I would say, a selfish place of me healing myself. I have had since my childhood the thought that, this cannot be my life. I cannot just be unhappy. This cannot just be it. So my constant pursuance of answers has always driven me to not be okay with the reality as it is around me, just accepting how things have been, accepting mistreatment, and accepting that things would never change. So, yeah, these are the subjects that are really important to me, that I talk about a lot, that I will continue to talk about. Also, as a way to help others identify and become dislodged from their own misery of abuse, of hopelessness. Because a lot of times that's what I felt. It's just I had this undescribable knowing within me that I was never satisfied with what my life looked like and what I believed that it could be. So this thought in me has driven me to take psychology in college. My major was forensic psychology. I sought to understand all types of mindsets, including those of criminals, which might be connected to my stepfather and thinking of him as a criminal and a pedophile. But I say all of this to say that I wasn't, nor am I satisfied with the status quo of what is expected of those who experience the type of abuse that I have. I've also been in foster care, which is a deeply traumatic experience, even if the parents aren't abusive. You know, being removed from a home, going to another without much of an explanation, the feeling of isolation. And these are in my young, super affected and malleable years. So yeah, these things have had an effect on me, to say the least. And at my age now, which is 40, I am still undergoing just so much healing and understanding and mourning over what I experienced. And I think as a society, we tend to overall have the narrative, the thought process that, you know, things were a long time ago. You know, it's time to let them go. But it is also reflective all over our society just how much people transfer their unprocessed emotions and traumas. It is just so obvious how we don't let things go. So it's really okay, let go of the thoughts, let go of letting people feel guilty. I think that's what it's really about. Stop replaying a record. But in not replaying that record or getting the healing or disrupting that process, the abuse and the pattern just finds a new target. I say that to say, you know, we've got all types of alcohol abuse, drug abuse, self-mutilation, suicide, food abuse with food, overeating, eating disorders. We are a society full of people who have not let things go, who have simply transferred the feelings, the unresolved traumas. And then there is the cycle of either abusing ourselves or abusing others, intentionally or unintentionally. So it is my belief that I am on this earth and in persistent answers because I'm supposed to do something with it. Because this behavior, or this thought, this finding this answer is on my mind 24/7. Not only have I suffered and still suffer with certain thoughts and perceptions, I'm also driven in a direction that I can do nothing else but resolve, dislodge, and unweld myself from the identity of pain. So, with my last dying breath, this is the work that I will be doing. I know that with all my heart. With all my interactions within friendships, within any type of relationship, it is my intention to heal myself and help others to heal. So, with that, I am writing a book as I speak that may be released next year in 2022, maybe the following year. I am also creating a program for young adults who have been abused in a way to pay it forward so that I can help myself to heal. I can help these young adults to heal. I can help them pay it forward and not be abusive parents, to identify when they do see abuse, those types of things. I do believe I am on this earth for that. And so everything that I do, this podcast, my vulnerability, my book, my poetry, the class that I'm developing, all of it is geared towards that. And if there is any legacy that I leave on this earth, is I left better than I came, and I helped others to be better than before they met me. Thank you. I have been Rachel on Soul Speak. You can find me on many platforms. Soul Speak is on Spotify. It's on YouTube. It's on iTunes. My Instagram is The Sassy Rachel. And the podcast is on Soul Speak Podcast on Instagram. And I look forward to speaking to you again and again and again. Have a blessed, wonderful, healing day. Bye-bye for now.